And now we conclude our historic look at Old Tucson Studios' Nightfall with Nightfall: Harvest of Fear at Old Tucson Studios. This is the year where my brother and myself have been the most participative. With the assistance of Rob Jensen, as well as the cast, we helped create a small-scale presentation inside the 1939 blacksmith shop on Front Street, converting it into Dr. Hyde's symposium and laboratory. Here is where Dr. Jebediah Hyde occasionally would operate on the inmates of Gouliard in front of guests, in order to better educate them of the struggles and tribulations known only too well by the residents of the township as well as its inmates. Nevertheless, this is simply one of the many elements that made Harvest of Fear. So what Halloween theme do we have this year, Michael? Well, hey, Michael, why don't we let the audience decide? Hey, that's a great idea! Alright, people, cast your votes now. I don't think anyone's watching. You think? Yeah, tell you what, why don't we just do zombies? Okay. So, hey, the votes have been tallied up, and this year's theme is zombies. This year introduced two brand new haunted attractions. The first was the Inferno, a horrifying look at a hell-bound world, based off of Dante's Inferno. And your second haunted attraction was Zombie Apocalypse, a production factory exhibition discussing the wonderful world of Chloroflow, a revolutionary product that springs dead plants back to life. And then some. You had Hypno Joe's Hypno Show. You had a brand new high-energy dance show experience titled Necrosis Party of Six. But this year, instead of Hyde transmutating the teens, it was Isabel turning them into a zombie horde. A dance-off between the living and the undead. Who would stand victorious? Well, the dead, of course. Yeah, I saw it coming too. They had the Gargoyles of Town Square. They had Dr. Jebediah Hyde's Carnival of Fear. Wait, no they didn't. Damn you, Vidian Guido! They did, however, have the carousel, the antique cars, and above all they had specialty prize games. But what about the circumstances surrounding Josie McFarland and, above all, Dr. Jebediah Hyde? This is where the stunt show extravaganza Dead Reckoning comes into play. We begin with experimentation on the inmate Alfred, which ends up going horribly wrong, blowing Alfred in half and killing a guard in the process. The now new appointed head guard Roland and Sheriff Clampett find Alfred's lifeless body and begin to dispose of it. Clampett gives orders to Roland to take care of Skeeter, the dead guard, but the dead guard Skeeter is reanimated and begins to attack our two lackeys. Both Roland and Clampett try to take it down with ammunition, but with these zombies, regular ammunition simply will not do, unless one uses a specialty gun with high explosives, and Isabel does just that. Isabel then gives orders to Roland and a frustrated sheriff to dispose of the bodies immediately. While they leave, Isabel reveals the secret location of Dr. Jebediah Hyde in an underground cell. It seems after rebuilding the electrominator, all experiments end up overloading, and due to the radiation, produce these zombie-like creatures. Only Hyde knows the whereabouts of the real plans, and can rectify these errors. But during an ill attempt to torture this information out of Hyde, the guard Johnson runs in to inform Isabel that Josie McFarlane and Crazy Sam have escaped. Sam surprises Johnson with a stick of dynamite. As he and an armed Josie confront the tyrant Isabel, we then learn that Dr. Hyde and the two inmates have made negotiations just long enough to do away with Isabel. In return, Dr. Hyde promises experimental reversal and freedom from the asylum when he pulls the trigger. But Josie doesn't want her to get the easy way out, after all of those who have suffered in the asylum because of her, due to the recent events. But before anything can be done, Isabel somehow disarms and predisposes the two inmates. She then releases dark forces to unleash the walking undead against Josie. In the chaos of the situation, Josie is forced to release Dr. Hyde, and the two begin to keep the creatures at bay. Sam returns with one of those specialty guns and ends up blowing up the reanimated body of the guard, Johnson. But Sam is disarmed by Isabel's true form. We find that Isabel, in actuality, is a demon. She then begins to explain to Hyde that she will use this zombie horde in order to maintain control of the asylum with the help of the amulet she uses to control them around her neck. I'm not making any of this up. Little does she know that she is no longer in the possession of the amulet, thanks to Sam. Sam then tosses the amulet to Hyde, where Hyde uses its powers to influence the dead, that Isabel is responsible for their torments. The dead take their revenge and send Isabel back to the hell that she came from. When all is said and done, Dr. Jebediah Hyde fires 2 shots at Sam and Josie, injuring them. He then uses the amulet to control the zombies. He instructs the zombies to take Sam and Josie to solitary confinement. Hyde has returned to his daily duties and intends to return things back to normal, or at least the definition of what normal is in Nightfall. And that's it. That's old